Obviously, you want this documented. And then I'll get the formal YouTube intro out of the way, and that'll be that. Okay, cool. Hey everyone, Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd. Hope you're doing well. It's time for a conversation and exclusive interview. Today we are holding a conversation with two legends, Chuck English and Mr. Sir Michael Rocks, aka the Cool Kids. Brand new record, Before Shit Got Weird, out now. We're going to be talking about the new LP. We're going to be talking about anything else going on recently, and hopefully, given, at least in my opinion, these guys with their legend status and everything, a little history as well, and maybe background for the uninitiated, because I think the Cool Kids consistently over the years have been one of the more underappreciated duos out there in the grander scheme of rap, and a little ahead of the curve as well in many respects. And I sort of got the sneaking suspicion going into this record, hearing the material on it, and just kind of looking at the title and taking in the title, that is maybe what you guys are kind of inferring a little bit. Like, you know, at least for you guys, what does it mean to, you know, kind of tell people on this record that this is before shit got weird?
It sounds really literal right now because shit got weird. You know what I mean?
It does.
But, when I named the album, it was just like a cheeky play off just thinking about what we were, what we represented. Like, what if this album was a rebrand, or if we were introducing ourselves to people, like, what did we do? Right. And it was like, you know, we stepped up on the scene and we were probably the last wave before shit got weird in music. That was what I was really talking about. Before, like, the way we consume music, before streaming took over and partnership with labels. You know, we were at the forefront of music being on the internet. So it was like the last pure time in music. You know, there was still music magazines, you know, certain things that were, college radio was important. You know what I mean? Like, it was all these different things where the subgenres and the smaller shows, and you could tour on a smaller scale and still take away a couple dollars. So I was thinking that. And then we got to recording it. I went on a little LSD trip while making it, and just started thinking about sounds and stuff. Like, all right, if I was gonna tell like a sci-fi movie, because originally this was gonna be like a fake movie, like the whole thing. Like, it's like a sci-fi movie I wrote, you know, like, and I wanted to make sounds that kind of felt like it. And then in the middle of making that, like, COVID started, and I was just like, oh shit, this is like Zeitgeist. This is exactly what Zeitgeist was talking about.
You kind of spoke it into existence like that, man. God, yeah, shit got weird. Shit got really weird.
It got weird.
That wasn't the goal initially, but man, did it make sense after it was all said and done. So I couldn't have found a better title than that.
Well, let's go back a little bit with some of the history that you guys were talking there. I mean, you know, for anybody who doesn't know, like, you know, you're talking about college radio, CMJ, and the buzz that you guys got through that, you know, CMJ platform. Yeah, I know. Like, way back in the day, like, you know, me and my friends booked a small New York, you know, some of the last CMJ shows before people just stopped having them at all. But, you know, but like CMJ was like one of the first places you guys were like catching buzz in like 2007, 2008, if I remember correctly. But again, like, you know, to sort of put it in context and, you know, really kind of make it clear, you know, I think over the past decade, everybody's like really just got so used to consuming music on the internet and really kind of taking for granted just how online hip hop is generally. And I feel like, you know, a lot of people have kind of forgotten that, like, you know, rap was not as online in 2007 as it is today. And in a lot of respects, you guys were kind of like the canaries in the coal mine on that front, like, because, you know, you guys preceded even Das Racist, you know, in terms of like the buzz that they were catching in the early 2010s. So, you know, in that respect, like, I don't know, it's just so hard, I think, to kind of lay out the history of what you guys were doing, because a lot of those platforms, as you say, like sort of CMJ and even MySpace, which you guys were active on like around that time too, like all those platforms are gone, or people are like totally disconnected from them and like don't really know like what kind of, you know, history or music history was kind of laid into those platforms that led to what we have today. So, you know, if you can kind of like start to paint the picture a little bit, like what were some of those places or some of those initial efforts that you were, you know, engaging in where you were like, we're not really going to make it in kind of a traditional industry sense, you know, or we're not going to, you know, try to climb the usual ladder. We're going to try to go online. We're going to try to pitch ourselves in a different way. This is kind of a new wave, a new opportunity, a new generation. Let's do it differently.
I think it was the I don't want to say the scenery we were in, but the fact that a lot of my buddies were the DJs that were traveling the world. The Flostradamuses at that time were like, DJs were big, you know, like it's Diplo's peaking, like it's like coming out of Hollertronics into his rise before he even got to radio type stuff, or before like the major labels are seen, when it would be like a Diplo show at the Metro in Chicago, and then everybody would be talking about it. And I realized how close in proximity that was to me trying to find an A&R or see if we could get signed. And I think the music hobbyist in us, we read a lot, and a lot of the music I listen to is underground hip hop, and you know how that works. You hear all these horror stories about how people's contracts were, you know, like how that whole, I was too smart for that. I wasn't about to, you know, I wanted this to be something that me and him were the last final like opinion on things creatively, you know what I mean? So I knew that major label reaching for that one was going to take away from my mission. So I think about like right when my beats started turning into something that I'm like, shit, I could possibly be better than a lot of things I'm listening to. You know, MySpace offered the MySpace music side. So you had a personal page. I had a personal page and I had a music page. And then just the instant reaction access that people got from you posting something. You could post something, and if they liked it, they could put it on their page. So that spread mixed in with I'm close to all these DJs. It's like, it sounds like we could do this the old school way and just record music, give it to the DJ play it, see if they like it. We made that I Rock song. I'm talking about internationally. You know, the song was available instant. It's on my MySpace. So London DJs are playing it. Japanese homies is listening to us. It's like all it took was one DJ being like, hey, these dudes is hot. And instead of them going to the store for it, it was this instant access. And you can't plan that type of shit out, man. Like we didn't know. We didn't know what we were doing. It was just like,
especially around that time, because going viral was such a still such like a new thing.
The easiest door you should open, the easiest door I could have opened without, you know, like I worked smart, not hard. So this is how you get your record played. I don't have to go through a third party because I'm hanging out with these kids and they're asking me for it. I'll never forget like doing homework late, and like Josh from Flostradamus, like our first interaction is him messaging me like, yo, send me that song. And I'm like, oh shit. You know what I mean? Like, this could work. And we just had such a pure, you know, origin story, because we were just really just doing it because we knew we were nice at it, but we wanted to do our own thing collectively. Like, I know he wanted to do his own shit. I wanted to do our own shit. My beats didn't sound like everybody else's. What I wanted to talk about was different. So I knew we shared that. And then it was just like, let's just keep going. And then we keep going. Next thing you know, people are like, yo, you guys trying to do a show? We were like, yeah, we fucked that show all up. But it was packed. Our first show was packed. So it was like, it was just a perfect storm, man. Like, you can't really draw it up no better. and just being at that point. That's why I was like, before shit got weird, it was like you could be a new artist, go down to South by Southwest, tear it up, come back, people are writing about you.
Right.
Like, it's not,
That was
that
pure-
world doesn't
pure time.
exist anymore. It's like the incubation of the new artist is like playlisting. It's like you don't even get to see them first.
Right.
Or, you know, your label then sets you up to open up for a big showcase or something. There's no natural discovery. Like you can't do a dusty bar at a festival like South by Southwest, which we were able to do. And, you know, tomorrow people are talking about you. People are excited about it. You know, like we've spoiled everybody so much that it's more like they're not excited. They're like, dance for me. Like, show me why we should care type shit instead of showing up ready to care.
It's
Right.
crazy because, like, even if, you know, people were to find a dope new band or group at a, like, dusty bar somewhere, it seems like nowadays people would more or less kind of ignore it until it was put in a position for them to say, okay, it's okay to like this now. I don't think the amount of people that are, you know, comfortable just engaging with and co-signing something that hasn't already been established yet and put into a platform yet, it's a lot lower nowadays. I feel like people could see, like, if Prince was born right now and he was 25 years old and started playing his first shows in a dusty bar, I feel like in this society we're living in now, I feel like he would probably be like not recognized. I feel like he would be ignored until
Be on fresh
labels or
lines.
somebody,
Yeah,
till somebody
it's-
like
it's-
really
it's-
co-signs it,
It's that
you
it's
know?
that classic scenario where it's like if John Lennon was born today or like wrote Imagine Now, like, you know, the industry wouldn't sign him in a million years or some stuff like that. You know, I mean, what you're referring to, I mean, you know, kind of represents like a couple of huge paradigm shifts. I mean, what you're talking about at that time of like, you know, South by and you do a random show and a bunch of people are writing about you, like around that time, a lot of the conversation and engagement around the music world on the internet is, you know, as far as the internet went, was like through the blogosphere. And like, you know, a lot of people, a lot of hardcore music fans like followed so many of these blogs passionately and would, you know, kind of take, even though like, you know, I'll say in retrospect, like the business dealings and the industry connections, many of which were like incestuous among, you know, kind of like the ring of blogs that were some of the most popular, you know, weren't exactly like the best and most honest in the industry. But, you know, having said that, like at least there was some kind of note of human curation to it. Whereas like now it's like it's all just coming to you via like an algorithm. And if it's getting shoved to you through a playlist or something like that, I mean, you know, that's even more impersonal than somebody who's, you know, I guess industry ties maybe kind of like, you know, maybe clouding their mind a bit. But, you know, at least it sort of felt like, as you were kind of saying, a little more organic.
Yep. Definitely. Yeah, it seems like the human curation has taken a back seat now, and the calculators got that under control now. So yeah, we'll see where this takes us. Although sometimes the algorithm got some good suggestions. Sometimes the algorithm suggests some cool shit, but there's nothing like, you know, that human touch to the curation. You know?
Chuck, what you were referring to earlier, as far as like some of the maybe like contractual skepticism, you know, that you were talking about with the cool kids earlier on when you guys were like getting a lot of industry attention. You know, I've always wondered, you know, looking at the trajectory of your guys' career, like any label connections that you had were very short lived. You know, I mean, was that due in part to not wanting to be locked down long term into any one label or any one contract out of fear of like, I don't know, like repression of your creative freedom or control of Cool Kids as a brand?
If you hear that something's just a haunted house and you don't feel like being scared, it's kind of like there's one story that's come out of this situation. It's always the same.
They traumatized us in that era, like right before the indie stuff was really like prevalent. It was all the horror stories about like, oh, you signed to a major label, they ruin your sound. And, you know, we coming from like organic rap background, so we kind of wanted to still sound cool. And that was the thing that they were like, yep, once you sign, you can't sound cool no more. They're taking all the cool shit away. You got to do a song with pop producers and the fun is over basically once you sign. And that was like the trauma story that they were like, you know, that they fed our generation pretty much to scare everybody off the major labels. So, you know, we were seeking other investment. We looked for the indie side of stuff and kind of scratched around there until we figured out that shit could get just as hairy. It could get just as critical.
Worse.
It's even worse. So
well,
yeah,
just as hairy, but like kind of a reminder for some younger people watching, like, you know, a lot of the biggest indie labels that are out there now, like it took a while for them to embrace like underground hip hop acts. Like it's kind of, I think, normal or not really a surprise to see, like, for example, a guy like Denzel Curry on an indie label where there's also like rock bands and pop bands and so on and so forth. But like back in 2007, there wasn't that kind of like, you know, cross-genre collection of artists coming together on a lot of these indie labels, many of which were just kind of like rock, you know, oriented.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then that was what the vision was. We were hoping that was what everybody was gonna see, but like, there's a lot of greed inside of indie labels because the overhead is cut off. You know what I mean? And I feel like a lot of acts that had a super high ceiling, you know, you probably got neutered way quicker, you know, with the indie. But at the same time, you get over to a major and let's say they do you right. Let's say like one meeting we had where it's like they were talking about like as soon as we got the deal done, they want to put us on a song with Alicia Keys. You know what I mean? Like it's either one route or the other route. It's like either they get it and they're trying to fuck you, or they don't get it and they want to change you. So all of those things were just in the pot stirring when we decided, like, all right, you know, let's make the injuries smaller. Let's do this way. Let's make it short. Let's do one project, no option of another. And then that way, if this one doesn't work, we have a chance to move on. And that shit still didn't work. Like we fought to get out of our first situation for almost 10 years. And then, you know, it gave us a little burnout. We took a break. And then when we came back together, we figured out that there's a pipeline and there's a list of things that you can do on your own. And you can like low key hire out the same type of services. You just need the money. You don't need to do things with a major label. You can go to the bank and get the same type of advance. So that's where we're at now. You know what I mean?
And, you know, just to also put it into context, the audience paradigm has shifted so much too since then, because like, you know, with how rigidly people used to kind of fall into certain lanes in terms of what they listened to around the 2000s was like way less blended than it is now. And I think it's important to kind of show people that, like, you know, the idea of a hip hop act that had at least like some kind of mainstream appeal, but they're not trying to make mainstream records. They're not trying to, as you were saying, like, we're not trying to go the Alicia Keys route. We're not trying to have some label come in and change our sound, but simultaneously an act that also kind of appeals to a lot of these indie listeners that are completely fucking out of their, you know, I guess like place when it comes to understanding or having much hip hop experience at all. But you guys kind of successfully for a certain period of time were able to ride that balancing act and find like some common, I guess, interest among those, you know, different audiences that may not necessarily, you know, have been ready for what you guys were doing at the time.
Right. And that was more than anything, that was the direct hit I wanted. I wanted to, like, at a time where things were so different, like there was subcultures into the mall punk. There was like mall punk, then there was screamo, emo, there's all this. And then when I thought about the fact that we'd be on shows with alt bands, punk bands, same venue, I was like, okay, there's certain things everybody's, you know, like there's a good beat that rocks, like there's no one that can't feel that. So I'm like, all right, if we stick to the science, we can come after an alt band, you know, like somebody that's playing like some synth wavy, whatever. like all of the different, like something like the Killers. Like we could have been on a show with the Killers back in the day, just because I know that it's about the music. It's the same way I like the Killers. Like I didn't even, you know what I mean? I went from buying a Dipset album to buying a Killers album like literally within 6 months. But that was like my taste and stuff. But that's what brought me there. It wasn't no hype around them. Like I literally heard one song in the FYE when I'd seen the CD cover, and I was like, "Oh, this shit is lit."
FYE.
Yeah,
No, I guarantee you, most of Chaz no fucking clue what FYE.
That's sad.
hell is that?
FYA was it. That shit was it.
Yeah. No, the first comment was RIP FYE. Yeah. No, definitely
Yeah,
RIP FYE.
Big RIP. Yeah. That's,
You
Hey,
can
hey,
go up-
hey, 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 listen. Here's the vibe. You see a CD in there that might be interesting. You want to know what's up with it. You take it to the little thing, you scan it, then it plays you a preview,
Album.
plays you a little bit of it.
you get a little single.
you had to hold the
Didn't they
fucking
have
bar.
handles? They had handles on them, right? Like the CDs
because
had like a handle.
they
on
didn't
that
want you
shit.
to steal them.
Right.
So you couldn't put the giant surrounding case in your pocket.
It was back when a pre-order made sense because it'll be there when you picked it up and it wouldn't be gone. Like I
Right.
remember one time, like one of the more like summers I bought the most CDs. I think it was summer 2000 before I go into 11th grade. And we have a lot of family in town, and I have a cousin, and she always had the new CDs. Like she always had them. Back when you could go to the store, look for some music, and can't find it because it's gone. You know what I mean? Like that's never even a thing to people no more.
Right.
So it was the Rough Riders 2, the second edition. It was like the Rough Riders 1 and Rough Riders 2 came out. And when she got to our house, they drove from like the East Coast. She got to our house and like pre-ordered it over by my house and picked up the CD. And I was like, yo, that exchange is so foreign now. Like people are pre-ordering albums online when there's no point of it. It's not like it runs out, you know?
Right.
What if they did start stopping the streams? All like, all right, you didn't pre-order it. We stopping the streams right here. You can't stream this till you go and cop the pre-order or something.
No, the pre-order is now replaced by the pre-save, so that as soon as you log in and it's available, it reminds you that it's there. Because, you know, as you were kind of referring to earlier, you know, the name of the game now is just like making sure somebody's engaged with something, because there's so much out there that you could be listening to. You have to be reminded that something that you were anticipated is actually there now, because there's 12 other things that could be stealing your attention away.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's the crazy part. There's so much that you have to have a reminder to do something that you actually wanted to do.
Yeah, it's like what, 70,000 songs a day, man, released on a daily basis. So yeah, you need a reminder if you want to really listen to something.
All right, so let me ask you guys, like, over the course of, you know, your career as a duo, there have been certain points where you've come through, you've dropped, sort of, you know, disappeared for a bit, come back, and now, you know, we're seeing a gap with this latest LP, you know, since your last one. You know, at this point, just in terms of like the chemistry between you two and the relationship as, you know, creatives that you've established, obviously, like, you know, what would you say after all this time, after almost 2 decades of being together, creating, you know, keeps you kind of reforming and coming back together and be like, we got to make another record, we got to do another this, we got to do another that?
Man, I think both of us have this like insatiable need to want to create more cool shit and want to like top what we've already done and what we've already had. And the vibe kind of it comes around in these waves, because sometimes it'll be time for us to like kind of fall back a little bit, you know. It'll be time for us to like not try to grab for people's attention and force that, because maybe the sound is something opposite to what we're doing and we need to continue to just work on the sound we have. Or maybe there's a certain aesthetic or visual that everybody is looking for at a time when that's not our turn, you know. And we're very honest with ourselves and knowing like, all right, either it's our turn or it's not, and we need to be working when it's not our turn, and when it's not time for us to, you know, hop on stage, we'll work and then be kind of like underground crafting the next one while time does its thing. Because worst thing for an artist to do, and it'll discourage you if you try really hard to grab people's attention at a time where it's not your turn. You'll feel like, oh damn, I suck. Oh no, they don't. Everybody hates me. Like I'm doing the wrong thing, and that's not the case at all. It's just like, nah, your cycle is not here yet. You need to wait for your next cycle, wait for your next turn to pop up again. And me and him are both really honest with that, and we share, you know, having that passion of not embarrassing our damn selves when it's not our turn, you know. And I think that keeps it fresh for us, because we know when it's time for us to be in create mode that we could just disappear and go create the stuff and then wait for the time to strike again and release what we worked on for the past, you know, year, 2 year, 3 years. So just kind of a very strong bond in timing that me and him shared has helped us constantly be able to like keep this fun and keep creating after, you know, this many years. Because it could get stale, it could get boring. He could just be like, no, I want to make just this same kind of beat over and over again. Or I could be like, nope, I'm just gonna rap like this forever and I don't really care about shit else. So I think that both of us just having that need to like actually make it cool, and we want to be on time, I think that keeps us ahead of the needle in most cases.
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of something I was curious about, given, you know, when you guys have released certain projects and when we've seen certain peaks of creativity in, you know, the cool kids generally. Because, you know, thinking about 2007, 2011, 2017, 2022, like in terms of the context of hip hop and the internet age, these are all very different eras. In terms of like what's going on at the time. And, you know, and with you highlighting that, like, what do you guys feel like is appropriate for right now in terms of like, we need to drop now, and this is the sort of sound or ethos or idea that we need to bring?
Yeah, that was deep in the back of my mind, because on top of wanting something to be impactful, I went inward a little bit. Instead of being outward looking for new stuff to do, I went inward and was like, yo, we created a sound, we created an emotion, we created an energy, and if it worked 15 years ago and people haven't seen it in a while, it'll work the same way right now if I just dial it in and use the same kind of routines I had the first time. But it's more important now because there is so much out there, but nothing directed, nothing having like the artist making sure that when you hear it, you get the maximum emotion out of it. There's a lot of selfish music right now where you know it's good, but the artist making it doesn't really give a shit about your listening experience. You know what I mean? Like the way the beat is sequenced, the way they mix it, the lyrics, the repetitiveness of what's going on. And I was like, instead of complaining about that or trying to make this high-end, high intelligent music that kind of creates a divide, I was like, I'm going straight here. I'm just gonna hit him right between the eyebrows, because this is the time for that. This is the time for people to hear things that are like I said, it's medicinal. The way I spend time, even just how long I mix, you could ask him. Like, I'll mix one song for 3 months, like, and not even repair it. Just take my time with it. Like, hear it, love it, go in one day and be like, all right, I'm gonna turn these drums down. Or, all right, I'm gonna bounce this wave out and send it to the homie with a tape machine. Be like, run that through there and send me the wave back. Or take something to a different studio and run all the drums through the gear just because I care. It ain't even bothering me. I don't have to. The shit was hot when I did it, but it's like, that's what I would want. Like, I basically made shit that if I was 16, 17, 14, 15, one of those years that was real influential for me with music, I would want to hear this. Like, I would listen to these guys. Like, I actually would like, yeah, I'm rocking with what they say. I feel like I can follow their direction. And You know, there's not too much of in no way, shape, form am I dissing it, but we don't have that social media presence that would take away from the mystique of what we create. Like, you don't know what the fuck is going on with me. Like, I'm happy pretty much 100% of the day, but I'm not taking everybody on that ride because that's not what I'm selling you. I'm not selling you my personal day. I'm selling you the ideas I had, the visions I had, the like experiences I had as a kid with music. So it's like we could build up this. Oh, they different. They different. You're different because you don't know too much about me. Like we do the same shit, but it's like I know how important those small details go into every single thing. So when we were making this, that's when me and Finn finished our first like recording session, like putting all the lyrics to the shit that we did. I remember we left the studio. This is like January last year. Like, nah, dog, this feel different. This shit feels different, don't it? Like, yeah, man, I was listening to this shit in the car. Like, I'll never listen to our shit like that. Listen to our own shit for a year and a half before we even got to the mixing sessions. That's how I knew this was a different, offering because we rocked with it. And I ain't never known him to listen to none whack. I know I ain't never listened to none whack. And if it did come on, I'd be like, all right, it's cool. Turn that shit. You know what I'm saying? So it was out of care and like carefully crafted, like artisan bread. You know what I mean?
Mike, let me ask you to kind of bounce off of what Chuck said a second ago in terms of like, because there is an irony to the fact that you guys don't have this, obviously something you're not forcing, like social media presence where you're shoving yourselves in everybody's faces every fucking second of the day. And what's kind of funny about that is that you guys are fucking, in terms of hip hop, like internet before a lot of people were. But still, you conversely, like you stream, you're pretty online. We've rated the stream before, and we like what you do on Twitch and everything. I mean, like as of late and as the cool kids have evolved, like what has your relationship, kind of been in terms of social media presence and like, how has your ethos shifted with that over the years?
Yeah, man. I've been through phases of what I thought social media was supposed to be. I feel like I was one of the first people on Instagram. I was on that shit like super early when that first came out. And I was, oh, okay, this is tight. This is cool. I can use pictures to like, tell what the fuck is going on here, take some cool pictures, yada, yada. And I felt like I excelled at that. I was like, okay, I'm good at like taking pictures and making some shit look cool. That's great. And then by the time it became, all right, now take the pictures and make a small video each time you do it. And when the stories and stuff came out and the Snapchat kind of lifestyle came out, that's when I started kind of pulling my hair. I'm like, shit, they're adding more and more like work to this that, gets kind of awkward at times. Like some people are really good at, just like holding the camera to their face and like being in a public place with like a lot of other people doing normal things. And then you're the person like talking to your phone like that. And some people like don't notice that or don't get like uncomfortable and they're really good at that shit. But that's where I started to see like, all right, I got to figure out what my approach to social media would be moving forward. And I, tried everything, really tried the story stuff, tried reels and, then there's TikTok stuff and all that. And I was just like, man, it's like, I got a lot of cool stuff to say, but like, I'm not good at delivering it in like these bite-sized tidbits, throughout my day. I kind of want to just sit down and like talk and do the shit. And that's where like streaming came into play when me and my boy Owen, who I do the mystery school stream with, we started streaming just as a basis to really connect with people for a longer period with a more in-depth kind of feel to it. So we could actually like get to know who we're talking to and they can get to know who they're talking to, as opposed to like, me kind of just manicuring Instagram story and a post all day, because I got friends that are like real Instagram wizard / con men, like they know how to like set the shot. I've seen like friends of mine like literally like set their shot up for the candid Instagram shot. Like he like set the watch and then he'll set the drink on the table, scoot that over, get in the lighting, make sure that the girl is kind of walking behind him a little bit and like really like set this shit up like a photographer. And I was like, okay, this is crazy. Like, is this what I got to do? I was like, I got to figure out another way. And streaming just made so much more sense because I can like sit, talk. We can go in depth about shit. We can go off the rails. We can make music. We can laugh. We can get serious, all this stuff. And I feel like I'm a pretty multifaceted person. So it's hard for me to like really, it's hard for you to get a feel for me off of just like one medium as far as like just pictures or just, you know, me tweeting or something like that. So streaming was like a real save for me. And it really showed me a lot more of what I had to offer when it comes to like social media and when it comes to just like, you know, building communities and stuff, man. Building communities on a streaming platform is so much more in depth than like doing it on Instagram or Twitter. Cause I would always want to have like that in that deep community of people that like, we know the inside jokes. We all, you know, pulling up to the stream. We're supporting when something's coming out. We're signal boosting when it comes out. We telling everybody else about it. And like kind of that exchange, like I always wanted to have that type of like involved community. And through streaming and Discord and all that stuff has helped me to really like build that up and recognize what's important about that. Like I got a ton of people from the mystery school streaming here right now, like taking over the chat. And it's just good to like, it's good to really have like that real support. I never really felt like that until then. Now I feel like I really have a real connection with people who like watch the stream and stuff. They know me, you know, I get to know a lot of them too. And I'm sure you know, you probably have a very similar experience with just like being able to talk very linear like this with, you know, people who are watching you at the same time. And you can really see like what they're thinking as well. And it's just a more real connection to me. And it's more than just like, all right, click like and then keep scrolling. Like, nah, if you come to the stream, like it's an investment in time, and the people that are there are really there for you, and they're really there for the experience that they're about to have. And just growing that and hopefully just continuing to scale that, this will be like, you know, what I can be able to rely on as a musician for social media and for like social interactions between people. Cause like it's tough. It's a lot of work to, you know, be a Snapchat guy every day, and like you gotta post 12 stories or the algorithm's gonna get pissed and like start shadow banning you, and like you gotta be super consistent and fast. And like sometimes I'm not ready to, you know, just create that setup shot and, you know, put the watch there and then put the drink over there and like curate the whole thing. And maybe I just want to, you know, get on and talk and shit post and talk about memes and stuff for a while. And you'd be surprised how many people really love just doing that. Like I couldn't imagine, like there's some artists that are, you know, pretty big that I would be surprised if like their fans didn't double or triple if they would get, you know, behind a camera in a way like this and be able to like communicate and talk to them and like kind of become human with them a little bit. Like I think that scares rappers specifically a lot of the time, is like when you're live on like a stream like this, like you fuck up, everybody saw it. Like they see you're human, you fart or pick a booger or something, they saw that, and now you caught out there. You got to kind of be like cognizant and on point doing this. And I think that streaming is scary to a lot of rappers in particular, because, you know, we're taught to like really have this strong image and facade that you got to keep up, that you can't like crack, or you can't like snicker at the, you know, the dumb joke, or you can't like crack the joke that falls flat or something and looks stupid, you know. So it's kind of it's a tough arena, but I feel like it really fits like, you know, what I'm doing really well.
Well, anybody who doesn't know, you know, again, check out the Mystery School on Twitch, and I totally feel everything that you're saying. You know, I love to fucking talk. You know, with streaming in general, it's kind of funny because obviously, like, I'm older, so I needed to be like schooled on like OBS and everything technically that needed to happen in order to get on here and do what I do. But like in terms of the format, streaming is like, for me, the most old school thing to be popular in the internet age, because it reminds me of when I was in college radio. It reminds me of public access when I was younger and would see like weird public access shows on TV and shit like that. And obviously, you know, like gaming's really popular and that's what a majority of the content is. But anybody who's like willing to do something like creatively that's out of that line, host a show, whatever, it can get pretty wild and out there. But let's start talking about some of the material on the new LP. You know, Chuck was talking a little bit about the production a few minutes ago, and in a way almost like alluding to throwing it back a little bit, which I agree with, because there were some beats on this thing where I was like, holy shit, he's throwing like the reversed perks in there. It's sounding, you know, sort of special and vaguely 80s, but also super punchy and modern in the way that like some of the Bake Sale stuff did. Like it feels like, you know, things are coming back a little bit. And in that regard, you know, with like your older material in mind, as maybe you were making some of those beats, like, would you say that, you know, your process to create that kind of production and just the production on this record generally has changed a lot over the course of that time since you guys were active in 2007? Or did you try to, you know, recreate the original process to kind of, you know, hit that same magic again?
It's a little bit of both. It's actually like probably right in the middle. I think that all the sounds were intentional. Bake Sale, that's just what I liked to make at that time. I didn't know how to do as much as I can do now. Like I could Quincy Jones an album if I wanted to. Like I play like 4 instruments. I know every musician that I think is awesome are friends of mine. Like I could produce a classical album if I wanted to. Before I couldn't. Those were the beats that I was making at the best of my ability. You know what I mean? Like that was my shining. Those were my like A+ best stuffs I could have made at the time. So now after learning what I've learned and working on my craft the way I worked it, I had this theory to dial back into the mind frame that I was in the first time, like where it's like cool, eerie, you know, like rain, storm on a like little Japanese market street way in an anime that's super, you know what I mean, ahead of its time type shit. Like those types of textures, like what it would sound like out of a small Suzuki. Like what if I could bring all the cool shit I'm into to this present day and it still exists. And I think that was where I was having fun. I had fun making these. I don't think one beat frustrated me. And there was a couple of beats where like, as soon as I found the groove and it locked in, like Pick Up on Line 6, like when I had that locked in and that like the way the sounds rock and the way the drums rock, like I was like, oh shit, I'm getting dangerous. Like I can do exactly what I want to do and make it sound different. That's not like the type of beats I made. I like didn't have that sample SP12 swing, you know, like early Cool G rap type of like, you know, bounce and rhythm. I never tried to do that and make it modern. You know, like back in the day, I probably would have tried to do that and it would have sounded exactly like that because that's what I was working towards. Now I could take, you know, certain essences. Like I can damn near sample essences and just put it into something new. So people recognize it, but they don't know why they recognize it. And that's like the art form I'm trying to perfect. Like I don't want people to be uncomfortable. I want them to feel familiar. And that familiarity bring you in, and then I elbow you with like, you know what I'm saying, a drum pitch drop that if you're in your car, the bass start coming underneath your seat. Like if people got systems in their shit, there's so much trickery I did with this album. Or if you got a subwoofer in your house, you can hear the woo and like all of that extra shit. So it's like, it's good coming out your cell phone. You got it. You know what I mean? You got what I meant. But if you invest in your experience, I got more tricks for, you know what I mean? I got more treats for you. So I always wanted this album to be something that when people listen to it, they like catch another joke. It's like watching the Chappelle Show over again. It's like, you know what I'm saying? Classic shit where you're like, I've watched this thousands of times. But damn, it's something new every single time. That's how I wanted this to unfold, like a blooming onion.
And what would you guys say generally is like the lyrical approach and ethos that you took on this new record? Because at least like from my opinion, listening to it again at like a surface level at this point, I haven't heard it enough times to like get a review out yet, but you know, it feels more familiar than it does new. And I'll say that because in my own opinion, and maybe it didn't, and maybe you'll disagree, but it feels more familiar than new, but maybe it didn't need to be anything else, because I feel like in a lot of ways, and, you know, guys on the record like Guap Dad, I think, are an example of this. In so many ways, the alternative side of hip hop has kind of formed to a lot of the sounds and kind of vibes that you guys pioneered. So it's like, you know, why change anything up? You know, there are some parts on the record where, you know, pick up on line 6, like you said, where things get a little more narrative, and obviously like the skits add, you know, a little thematic humor to the whole thing. But, you know, generally it feels like you guys couldn't fit more into what is going on right now.
No,
yeah, that's a very on point statement, I gotta say, because like when we were making this too, Chuck would come back with like new beats that I would hear, and I'm like, damn, like this not the usual thing that I'm used to hearing from him. You know, I've heard probably more beats of his than you guys will ever understand.
Right,
like,
you hear every beat.
I've heard them all. Like
you hear the beat. You hear the beats we don't hear.
Yeah, so like I was hearing shit that like he usually wouldn't do on a lot of these tracks, especially like the pickup on line 6 type beat. Like that's the first time I heard him like kind of take that angle. But at the same time, when I first met him, he did do that. It's crazy. Like when I first met him a long time ago, there's shit that he was doing that he just now started doing again now, and I was like, oh, this is the shit that we really like linked up on. Like Bake Sale was not the sound that we became friends on and met on. We met on a bit more infant, you know, Chuck English production, a bit more younger version of that before he was really refining it yet. And it was dope, and it was still different and didn't sound like anything else. But like by the time we got to the Bake Sale, we had a specific like thought in mind, and we were like, oh, okay, we can hit it like this. This is the angle we can go at with the production for this. And a lot of the beats on this project are really kind of full circle moments for like the shit that we really connected on when we first met too, like that pickup on line 6 and stuff like that. I guess that like lyric wise, it just felt like we kind of are already here. I know me personally, I felt really comfortable like just kind of doing what I do already on this one. I didn't feel the need to like, you know, try to reinvent the wheel. I didn't feel the need to really try to, you know, put on a certain performance here because it's like the Cool Kids album. Cause like, yeah, between this album and the last Cool Kids album, there's been a couple years, but in between that, like me and him both, we've been dropping like hella solo projects and stuff too. So like I've dropped Mystery School projects, solo albums and stuff like that too. So I was still kind of building up my repertoire on lyrics and what I wanted to talk about, subject matter and all of that. And by the time it became album time, I didn't feel the need to like switch into like Cool Kids mode and like, all right, now let's make sure I, you know, write Cool Kids songs. I was like, oh no, like it kind of all makes sense in this, you know, in this perception right now for me to just kind of like bring everything I have, bring all the artillery to the table really. And in the past, you know, I would kind of separate the two as far as like solo music and approach and Cool Kids music and approach. And I feel like with this one, it didn't feel necessary. It felt kind of right to just go in on the production that he was giving, you know, the way that I was already delivering stuff before we decided this was an album, a Cool Kids album. Yeah, it didn't feel like there was a need to, you know, kind of pander to a certain like Cool Kids sound or direction when it came to this. It felt like we kind of created a lot of the world that we're living in as far as like this alternative kind of sound of rap. And it seemed like we were kind of on time, like to just be us, and it would make sense, this album, you know. And like I said, in the past, I had felt like sometimes that my solo stuff is my solo stuff, Cool Kid stuff's Cool Kid stuff, and like it's a separate kind of approach to it. And yeah, this time it felt right to just kind of put it all out there at once.
Were there like some, I don't know, experiences or like inside jokes that were driving some of the cell phone humor that kind of pops up on the record?
Oh yeah.
Here and there. Oh well, I mean,
Yeah,
Chuck's
yeah.
on the phone. He could tell me.
Yeah, he's definitely. He could text it to you right now.
No, I'm trying to jump in the chat, but it wouldn't let me.
Oh, you.
I'm trying to send something, letting
you
people
gotta
know.
use your arcade PC behind you right there. You know, you can just hop on that.
All right. Well, yeah, I was trying to just shout everybody out. That's what I was looking for. But Twitch.
Well, the chat is loving you guys. The chat is loving
Tell
you
them I
guys.
said what up. It said it's follower only, but I follow you.
Oh, I'm
Yo,
sorry.
you gotta wait 10 minutes. You
gotta wait 10 minutes because some people just come in and are fucking
My ticker
haters.
just went off. That's what I was hitting.
I'm sorry about that.
When I brought the phone up here, this was me frustrated for hitting the got it. That's all good as long as people know I was checking out and I was listening. Just engaging with everybody. I do appreciate everyone in the chat. It's like
we love y'all.
Yeah, man, we do. But what was the question? My bad. I
just wanted to know like what were some of the either inside jokes or like experiences that were driving some of the cell phone humor on the record, like because that kind of comes back here and there.
I think this is something we should just get out there. I think me and him have been writing sketches,
right,
and doing comedy sketches and writing shows like that for almost 5 straight years. Like there was a point in time where we would just literally break into character when we seen each other. Like we had a robbery skit. We have like
I hated the robbery skit because I would always be the one getting robbed every time, and then he just running up with the fake gun on me and the shoulder.
But it was our narrative. It was the narrative. It would be the shit I was robbing him for. Like we made a skit out of that. We have skits for everything. Mikey had wrote a series of sketches and had a sketch show that we wrote a pilot for called The Shit Show.
Right.
And that type of things those types of things you notice you get really sharp and better at it the more you do. So, with us pitching ideas while we were recording the whole time, new sketches, short films, us being able to come up with a concept has always been like, it's gotten easier. As far as the skits and interludes for this album, I felt like people needed to have, the underlining story underneath. I don't know if that's the exact word, but it's just like something that is themed, like what was the theme? What drove the album? And since in my head, this was always like a hood sci-fi movie. Like it was just like like the Friday and the Matrix. You know what I mean? Like that's what people were going to see. But instead of like having movie scenes, I wanted to have it like how people were receiving the movie. And like what was on the radio while you were driving to the movie, like, the Sales and Scales being a commercial, right, but it's also like a sketch, like Twerk Mobile being something that reminds me of every low end prepaid minute phone commercial that I've listened to from, late 03 to about 09. If you're in the inner city, you caught like the late night radio broadcasts. It'd be something that was so trash that it was beautiful. So I wanted to like give that subconscious experience of like, what's it like going to see this movie release, like make it feel like the weekend everybody went to go see it. And this was the album that was on, or this was the soundtrack to the album. Cause that was the concept in the beginning. But as we started to develop skits, we knew what, like how the Tony Two Sweaters goes in the Dapper Dan Leather. Like pick up on line 6, cell phone skits, like they're really tied. They're tied in without being so direct. So, we didn't reinvent, we didn't invent none of this, but it's been so long and so neglected as making a rap album theater. Like there's parts of it and a lot of classics that was theater. Snoop's Doggy Style, The Chronic, Wu-Tang albums. Like it was like listening to theater with a soundtrack. And my number one goal was make sure I liked this first, and I loved, not just like I loved what I make. That was what I wanted to impress myself. Now I impress myself with like attributes or goal markers. but I wanted to impress myself with how I told a story. You know what I mean? Like, could I give this album from cover to the ending of the last song? Do I know people took something away from it? And not like being all deep, not like taking you to an emotional spot, but literally just like lifting your spirit a little bit. Cause that's what rap music did to me. I didn't indulge in it for reflection or anything like that. There was music I had for that. Like, I don't think every genre should encompass every single thing. I think you should serve a purpose. And that's where we came from. That the comedic undertones of it was like, that's us. That's us. It don't matter if this was World War III and shit was going down tomorrow, me and him would probably be making jokes about
It's almost World War III.
Yeah, we already made tons of jokes.
Yeah,
we make jokes about it all the time.
You can make the joke, man. And to be honest, like when we were making this, we picked up on the skits like midway through, and I love doing skits and making skits and just fucking around in general. And when he kind of approached me, he was like, "Yo, we should do these skits for it." I was like, "Okay, we should do some skits," and kind of just brush it off a little bit because I was more of in the mind of like, man, like we're gonna put this on Spotify. Like people don't listen to skits; they just skip by them. It doesn't really matter. Like nobody's album has skits. I was like, I don't think that anybody really cares about that anymore. And you know, that was kind of what I was thinking for a while until we started making a few of them. And I'm like, actually, this is kind of tight and kind of funny, and it definitely brought that all-encompassing feeling into the album where you can kind of feel where the vibe is supposed to be. And after we ended up, you know, dropping it over the past few days ago, I just been seeing the responses from people that really fuck with the skits and really like those, and says that, you know, and then we're saying that it really helped them to like conceptualize the album a lot more and brought a lot of color and personality and a lot of our own personal kind of appeal to, you know, to the project that would have been missing had we left that off. And when I listen back to it myself, I'm like, damn, yeah, if we didn't have these skits and interludes and stuff on here, we'd be missing a lot of real personality that I think people are attracted to us for. I think that we have a lot to offer in that category, is like personality and like being two people that like, if you actually met, you like, oh, I fucking like them. They're tight. They're cool dudes. Like I get it. Like there's not a lot of ways to really display that in rap right now, unless, you know, you just on your Instagram story all day or something like that. But yeah, we were able to really like show our sense of humor, style, and personality through these skits. And I couldn't imagine like not having those on here now. You know, in the beginning, I didn't think that anybody would even really give a fuck about them, to be honest.
Not just lyrics, not just beats, skits, pilots, streaming. The cool kids are Renaissance men. I appreciate you guys coming through and talking to me about the new record.
Man, I'm glad it was on your radar, man. I
Appreciate it, man. Glad we finally got to get on here, man.
Yeah, man. I've been waiting.
I'm sorry it took so long.
Fan, man. Hey, man, better late than never. And honestly, this is a great time to pick it up, though, because we actually did a cool thing this time. So I'm glad we didn't do the interview on the Sucky album or something. Then we got to come talk about that. But yeah, I'm glad we got a chance to pick this up, man. Like I've been a fucking fan for.
I only recently started doing the interviews. If I would, no matter how much the album sucked, I would have you guys on to talk about it and just be like, you know, this album fucking sucks. Here's why.
Why'd y'all do that? Like you really fucked up on track 6 when you said that the cow's asshole was like, what? You guys really you blew it there. Why'd you do that? Look,
if you guys make a real sucky one, you can come on here and tell me how much it sucks all you want. You're invited. You know, it's an open door. So don't worry about it.
That's a cool concept, man. I might be into that. I might make something that sucks just so I can go do the interview and talk about like, yo, this shit is ass and this is why it sucks. Like, let's talk about it.
Chat sounds excited for that. So
let's go.
I just told him to drop the Chuck emote.
Okay, you got the Chuck emotes in the chat. Let's see those Chuck emotes in the chat if y'all got them.
I think I saw them a few times.
We made him some specific ones for the mystery school stream because he would just be like this.
They're dropping them.
This kind of just like cameo character that would always kind of bum rush the stream when I was doing it. Yeah.
They coming in
There we go. All right,
droves, bro.
they got the chucks.
They're
in
coming.
there.
They're
All
coming
right.
in heavy. They're coming in heavy with the Chuck emotes.
Lit. Well, yeah, man, we appreciate it, and I'm gonna start my Suck album now, so I can get back on here and talk about that.
Start it. Title it the Suck album. As soon as it's done and it's out, let me know. We'll come on. We'll talk about it.
It's gonna get fucking a 10 from Pitchfork just because you wanted to suck.
Yeah, that's how it goes.
All right. Thank you guys very much for coming through.
Talk to you
Appreciate
soon.
it.
All right.
Thank
bye.
you guys.